$1 million question. Actually, this is the tough part. We have some success here, even Payhawk, first unicorn, but it shouldn't be about the first unicorn. It shouldn't be about the efforts of BESCO. It shouldn't be about the efforts of Able. It should be, how do we multiply and leverage these organizations? How do we make a unicorn every second or third month? How do we create more BESCOs? How do we scale the work of Able? This is, again, the viral effect. How do you create a virus that really affects other people to do the things that, are right? Because deep down, everyone knows what's right and what's not right. So how do we, leverage everything that we've achieved so far? And again, to make it at scale, I think that, working with the government is essential. And this is why I believe in BESCOs Mission so deeply, because it is the government that can really scale the process. I mean, the civic sector, the businesses, they show the right way. If you want to make it, a massive presence, then you need people at scale to act at scale. And that's why, BESCO is pushing for the agenda of the whole ecosystem.
Hello and welcome to the Recursive Podcast. Our next guest is on a mission to transform Bulgaria's economic model towards high value-added businesses. Ned Dervenkov is one of the co-founders of the Bulgarian Startup Association, BESCO. With over 500 members, the NGO is working towards a series of reforms to improve the framework for starting a business in Bulgaria and position the country as an innovation powerhouse in the region. He had participated in the creation of several laws impacting the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Bulgaria. Prior to that, Ned was a serial entrepreneur with businesses in real estate, sustainable fashion, and finance. Ned is also a part of ABLE, the Association of Bulgarian Leaders and Entrepreneurs, where he also serves as a mentor. Ned Dervenkov, welcome to the Recursive Podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's great to have this conversation with you few years after we had the conversation on my podcast, where you were actually the serial entrepreneur back in the days. And now I am part of ABLE, and you are on another level working towards better legislation for starting companies and supporting the local startup ecosystem. So it's been a very interesting trip.
Indeed. If, back in the day, someone told me that I would be sitting speaking about the things that I'm about to speak, I would not believe my future self. It's been a hell of a roller coaster, but I think, it's all for good.
Let's start with your first steps into entrepreneurship. What sparked your entrepreneurial drive?
That's a very interesting question, and to be honest, I have one of these trivial types of answers when I've been an entrepreneur. As far as I can remember, literally, buying crocky snacks from a store that used to sell it cheaper, but it used to think is, then retailing it to the children in the neighborhood, clearing the screens of cars on random traffic jams in Plovdiv, where I was born, to actually running a semi-legal alcohol selling business in the UK, where I was living on campus and there was no, alcohol available, 24/7 liquor store. So I sort of, bought a lot of booze from larger stores, and, people had my number. So when they needed alcohol during the small hours, I was always there, to provide it with. Which I wouldn't advise people do, because I got caught by campus security and, I got into trouble. But anyhow, I mean, it's been a part of me. Entrepreneurship has been a part of me ever since I remember. I tried working for a corporation. Actually, it's a very funny story, because I was, trying very, very hard to get into a corporation. And after graduation, I was putting some serious efforts, and eventually I got accepted in working for Mercedes, where, parallel to me applying for Mercedes, I was applying to, back then, the first, one of the two first venture capital funds in Bulgaria, which was 11. So my idea was accepted in 11, and I got accepted in Mercedes. After so much hard work, I said, no, I don't need this. This corporate life is not for me. So, I started going more professional into the venture capital world and into the, serial entrepreneurship.
So you have this huge amount of experience, basically from starting from doing like kids trade to working with VC funds. Is there a quality that you think is a must for an entrepreneur?
I'm not sure if it's a quality that is a must for an entrepreneur, for any successful human being. I think, you know, persistence is crucial. I mean, you cannot see the results of something if you don't follow them very focusedly. So I think, you know, persistence is one, and then, you know, passion is maybe the second thing, because you can't really be persistent in something you don't really like. It's, you know, it's a kind of torture if you do. So if you don't like the things that you do, and if you don't have the persistence, and I would suggest the value set as well, and it should be your value set. It's not the value set of you know, Bill Gates or someone, you know, famous. It should be all the things that are really in focus and aligned with you. But you should know that, and you should be aware of that value set and just follow through.
I remember a conversation that I had last week with one of the companies that Eleven invested in a few years ago, Taxi Me, with Hristo Chernev, the co-founder of the company.
Guy.
And he has this amazing quote, the one that succeeds is the one that never gives up. So you're now saying persistence. Thank you very much for pointing it out. We'll go back to values a bit later on in our conversation, because I know that the startup Bushido is something very important to BESCO, and it's very important to you, of course, and we'll get back to it. You believe that the companies that are meant to survive the race to success are the ones created by people motivated to make sustainable change in their surroundings. So the people that really are willing to make a change in the environment that they live in. Do you think entrepreneurs have a bigger role to play in society besides creating value for the economy?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, entrepreneurs are by definition problem solvers, and, you know, solving a problem and, you know, earning money out of it is just the consequence of solving a problem. There are, you know, things that really matter, which are far, far beyond the economical value, and we have I think in Bulgaria, a very good sample of those entrepreneurs. They call them social entrepreneurs, that really make a change, not for profit. They could be either individuals or it could be organizations. You mentioned ABO is one of the organizations that really is into entrepreneurial education and scaling the mindset and scaling the values and scaling the capabilities. So, you know, it's about making the world a better place. As trivial as it sounds, it really, entrepreneurship is all about that.
You now mentioned ABO, and I joined the organization last year, going through the program. And just to make an example out of it, it's an organization that was started by people that went on this summer entrepreneurship program, funded by America for Bulgaria Foundation, a couple of weeks in the States, in Babson College. You were part of this program. And the people that were in the first groups actually came back and said, this thing should exist in Bulgaria. So would you mind saying a few words about that too?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a, you know, ABO is an alumni organization. As you said, it was people, it were people traveling to the US on a 5-week mission to explore entrepreneurship. Then the program got cut off, but, you know, those people that were there understood the necessity that this entrepreneurial education should continue. So we created an entrepreneurial program here in Bulgaria. And I think it's probably one of the best entrepreneurial programs here in Bulgaria. And everyone that goes through this entrepreneurial program, which is, by the way, very hard to get in, it is quite hard to get out as well. So it's, you know, it's a very tightly selected people. I have the honor to be part of the jury as well of this year's cohort. And, you know, those people, you know, they're so well selected that it is a must that they combine their capabilities after the program. And it's a must that they work together on a larger mission and on a larger state of being. And this is what ABO is all about, you know, scaling entrepreneurship education through the program or through mentorship, you know, getting those young children, 10th and 11th grade, matched with professionals so that, you know, the kids can get their awareness very early on their self-development. This is so crucial because we don't have that in our education system. So ABO and organizations like ABO actually tend to fit the gaps that the education system leaves, and they're huge, unfortunately.
I cannot leave out of this conversation the BASE program, which is basically helping people that already have some small businesses and they're above 30, because everyone that I'm sharing the story about ABO activators saying, why is this program not available for people over 35?
Yeah.
And I say, guys, there is BASE for you. So ABO is somehow managing to go to the students, to the high school people, and then to young individuals that are entrepreneurial, but also to people that are above 30 and already have some experience in entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. BASE is amazing, and I'm a lecturer there as well, and I'm helping the guys out there as well, because I really, you see so much potential, so much rough, unpolished talent, and because let's be honest, we have, the concept of free market economy only for, 30 plus years. And it's, if we compare it to, Western countries, we're still in our very early stages of infancy of entrepreneurship. So we need to find ways to multiply. We need to find ways to multiply our talent, our resources, and, our infrastructure. And going back to BESCO is about the infrastructure. This BESCO is about creating rules and regulations and laws that can really scale up the potential that we have, because we do have a great potential and we need to scale it up.
Now, going back to BESCO, would you mind sharing some stories, some words about the early days of BESCO? How did this idea came to life? I mean, you've been, like everyone that's been an entrepreneur in a way, you know that it's not 9 to 5, it's like 24/7. So where did you find time, and how did you decide to stop doing this and focus on something that's BESCO at the moment?
It is a very, the way I joined BESCO is actually a very funny story. And I actually joined the BESCO like 4 or 5 months after the creation of the organization. And I was traveling with one of the founders, Dobromir. We were supposed to go to Hungary on a trip organized by the Chinese delegation under the 16+1 initiative. And we were driving there. We were driving to Budapest. It was like, 12, 13 hours drive. And I swear we talked about God through the whole journey. It was really this guy telling me that he kissed his wife on their wedding day, and telling me that he's super religious, which I'm not, by the way. I'm, on the other side of pragmatic logical thinking and believing in science, but he was very obviously religious, and I got like super provoked, and I started dwelling in, but his belief was so strong that it looked to me as this guy had some sort of superpowers. Like his belief was so strong that he was untouchable, and his vision about how we can change the environment, which by that time looked very grim, I would say. It looked very not very entrepreneurial and not very progressive. So he had this vision of how we can change that, and I thought that he's crazy, but I somehow believe him, and I somehow feel the need to be part of something much larger than my own income or the businesses that I'm doing. I just realized they were kind of superficial, and they were kind of beneficial to me only, and I needed to be part of something larger. But I also understood that if there was no concept, if there was no business behind BESCO, it would just remain as an idea. So this was my mission, to actually go into the organization, create processes, create sustainability, and make the organization self-driven, more or less.
Amazing. Here comes the values once again, but we will go back to them a bit later. Dobry himself is an entrepreneur before he became that spiritually connected, I must say, which is also a very interesting perspective on someone that has been into this 24/7 entrepreneurial way, having a successful business that fails later on because the market is just not ready, the culture is not there to have this business. And then together you joined this organization of people that are very spiritual, entrepreneurial on the same side, and they want to create something driven by values.
Absolutely, yeah.
So What kind of people did you manage to attract to BESCO in the beginning, and how did you manage to do it?
It was, again, a very interesting story because, when we started, in the beginning, it was first the politicians. So we had, literally we were standing in front of the parliament and we were trying to get in. And once we got in, we were actually grabbing people that we know from TV to actually tell them that there is this entrepreneurial ecosystem, that we have these and these demands. We've managed to collect this notorious 99 pages PDF from our 30 members in the beginning. We had 99 pages of, suggestions and propositions, and we were like showing the PDF like it was the Bible, going to people, this is important, you have to read this. And at the beginning, politicians were like, who the hell are these guys? But, step by step, we started bringing ministers and presidents to co-working spaces, and we were actually telling them, look, this is a startup and this is a freelancer. And they couldn't grasp the idea. They were like, so what is the name of this company? We brought them to puzzle. And so which is the office of this company? What's the name of the company? We're like, that's not a single company. There's different companies there. And then 5 minutes later, so what was the name of the company again? So again and again and again. But it was like really, as Dobry puts it, it was brainwashing. We were brainwashing the politicians all the time. And then we realized that really we can't do this on the side. It has to be a full-time job. If we want to take it somewhere, we have to, start paying ourselves something for these efforts. So in the beginning, it was like literally no membership fee. We wanted to make it like transparent. So it was based on crowdfunding. We did this creative campaign where people donated small amounts. Then it became serious when mentors like Vasil Terziev and Svetozar Georgiev they saw that this could be big. By the way, the first time we went to talk to Vasil, we were coming out of the parliament.
I know this story.
Yeah, and we were like suited up and going to Campus X where his office is, and he was like. He saw us and he was like, guys, you scared me. I thought there was tax collectors, you look like tax people. So lose the suits and let's talk. And he didn't believe in the beginning. He was like, who are you? Like, would you represent the startup ecosystem? Fuck off. I mean, just piss off. And he didn't believe us in the beginning, but then, we started getting traction and, second talks and third talks, and he sort of got to know the values. He got to understand that the things that me and Dobry stood behind were the things that he was standing behind as well. So we started collecting membership fee, and it was literally we need to we're doing 8 to 10 membership onboarding meetings per day, and an average meeting was around an hour and a half. And I remember, the first days I was talking like we were talking now, and I could see myself from here. It was the 8th meeting of the day. We were traveling all over Sofia in traffic, and it was like 7 p.m. and I was doing this since 9, and it was like day 35 of doing that, and it was very hard work and very, very, very entrepreneurial in a way. Validating our existence, validating that someone is willing to actually pay for that, and then having the MPs and the ministers believing that this is a narrative that it is beneficial for them as politicians, but is also beneficial for the country as well.
So just to make it brief, you are an organization that takes the needs of the startups in Bulgaria and tries to create policies that are attractive to startups and helpful to startups to grow, to get easier capital, to get foreign talent, etc., etc.
So a few things, yeah. So 3 are the major goals of BESCO. So one is access to talent, which means, reform in our education system because it's inevitable. Mid-term solution, short-term solutions is the blue cards initiatives and the startup visa, attracting talent within Bulgaria. Then access to capital, like angel incentive mechanisms, VC, pension funds to be able to invest in VCs, the Beam Market initiative. We work together with the Bulgarian Stock Exchange so we can make it happen. We're now working on the FDI law to improve the FDI possibilities in Bulgaria. I'm losing my voice, sorry. So these are all the things that we're working with, the access to capital, and then ease of doing business is the third goal like regulate remote working, quicker liquidations of companies, a new type of legal entity so you can easily give out options to your employees, investing and all those modern instruments that our trade law does not allow for, and many other small things that really, if you look them piece by piece, they don't make much sense. But if you combine them, then first of all, it turns out that we're not working only for the interest of startups, but we're working for the interest of every progressive company in Bulgaria. And this is the reason why sooner than later we would rebrand ourselves, and we would no longer be the Bulgarian Startup Association, but the Association of Bulgarian Entrepreneurs, because we really protect the interest of those progressive people that are really trying to make a difference. Their business is global. They, clients is the main source of income, not the government, which, we see quite often, and they're able to scale quickly. Yeah. So this is BESCO.
Great. And going back to the question, do you think what you're fighting for got the people on board, or who the people that are fighting for are, like you and Dobry and the others that started the company? So what got the people on board?
But I think, again, the vision, everyone that got on board, and by getting on board, we have a new board now. We're expanding. 9 people are joining, at successful entrepreneurs like Tenko from SiteGround. Svetozar Georgiev is our chairman, Christomanov and all the other guys, which we're very grateful to. They understood that, first of all, it's a long-term vision to transform the economic model of Bulgaria. But, second of all, it's the journey which is supported by the values, which are, doing the right things, not stealing, paying your taxes, everything that is mentioned in the Bushido that you mentioned. Very simple things. A moral compass should be simple and should be very straightforward. No, fancy, things. Just very focused and very simple. And we want our companies to have, good relations with their employees, with their competition, to pay their taxes, to have give back mentality, which is essential, and to have the pay forward mentality, which is also very essential. So you don't need to be rich to help others, right? You can pay forward. You can always, try and be a mentor of children, be a mentor at a thing that you can that you're very strong at. There's always ways that you can help grow the mindset around you. And this is what brought those people on board, I think.
Great. Now you mentioned the startup Bushido. Where did the idea come from? Who did it come to? Was it your idea to have this samurai code of conduct introduced? And you're also using this as a gatekeeper for companies that are on the verge of not following some of the rules, and this is a way to keep inside the association members that you believe that they're doing these things.
Yeah, well, most of the absurd branding you would hear around BESCO is my ideas.
Absurd
mainly.
branding, you
yeah,
say.
like so Bushido. Like, what is a Bushido? Why a Bushido? But again, I think that entrepreneurs, the change makers for good, and the samurais, they have very much things in common that do the right things and follow focus, execution, high ethical standards and codes. So that's why it's called a Bushido, because it really is it's an ethical compass that you shouldn't compromise with. And you're absolutely right. It is the most significant barrier that BESCO has, so that shady companies don't get in. And we've said no quite sometimes to companies that are, they want to become part of BESCO, but we know that their reputation is not clear. Like, we're not prosecutors, and we are not the secret services, but if we believe that some image has been jeopardized in terms of ethical compromises, then you're not part of BESCO. It's as simple as that. And of course, mistakes will be made, but again, we have now, as the organization mature, we have different mechanisms, a proper governance model with a lot of cross checks whether the system is functioning properly. So we're really trying to keep these organizations to those people that really want to make a sustainable change, that are really market driven, and that really have passion to change, themselves, their environment, and Bulgaria in general. Because in the end of the day, this is the battle for Bulgaria.
Yeah, I believe that Bulgaria is a very small country. It's 67 million people, and I've personally been into situations where someone is doing something not knowing that I know the other people that they have worked with. And then you know that these people are compromised, these businesses are compromised, and you don't want to work with them. You just say, no, this is going to lead me to have the same reputation as they do. Because this is what our mind thinks. It's like associative thing. You associate companies to others that they work with or they say they work with. So it's a great way to keep it clear at home.
One thing that I would like to mention is that BESCO also provides the other mechanics, the other way around, for successful entrepreneurs to become public servants in a way. Because being a board member at BESCO, it really involves you into conversations with a lot of politicians, with a lot of ministers, and it's the dirty work. But this is the work that is so much needed, and one of the reasons why BESCO is successful is because, well, no one else is willing to do what we're doing, and this is a niche. So transforming the mindset of successful entrepreneurs into becoming public servants, working for BESCO, meaning working for the ecosystem, is actually it's an amazing benefit, because now entrepreneurs don't think about their dream house in Hawaii or in the Bahamas. They're thinking of, I'm staying here. How can I, leverage my impact using organizations like BESCO to actually, make the Bahamas here in Bulgaria, make this amazing image that we all have of some foreign distant lands here in Bulgaria. And this is a side effect that we weren't very, aware of, but it's happening now and involving so much successful entrepreneurs in their very specific stage of their lives and development. Most of them are guys with exits or very successful self-run businesses in a way. So, it's great to see that it's not only that we're brainwashing politicians to know our agenda, but we're also involving the entrepreneurs that by definition, they used to be like, the government is here and my business is here. So as long as they don't interfere, that's great. It's over. This type of mindset is over. Now we know that if we want to make things great, the government and the business should work together.
Great. I remember a quote by Vasil Terziev, who's also been on our podcast, and I would really recommend our viewers or listeners to go back to this conversation. But he said that successful entrepreneurs' job is to make other people successful. It's not to go and get islands and Bugattis, etc., which is amazing. And like last year, I went to this event for teachers and directors in high schools in Bulgaria, and they were giving me this question: what unites all of your guests on your podcast, which are more than 300 successful, great example, people that are leading by their personal great example? And I say, what unites them is this give back mentality. They are really willing to give back. It might be time, it might be other resources, it might be connections, whatever. They're just willing to do it. They never say, what am I going to get out of this? Absolutely. So I would really like to support what you were just saying. And
there are 3 stages of work. First, you work to get paid, then you work for free, and then you pay to work. So the final phrase is like you devote your time, you give money to someone, and you just want to see it happening. This is like, I think we should have more people on the 3rd stage.
You're also supporting the local ecosystem as a mentor. You already mentioned that you're mentoring in BASE, you're mentoring in Able Activator too, etc. Why is this important to you personally?
Because I believe that the only way successful people are successful is when they build successful people. What you just mentioned about Vasil. This is a simple multiplication effect that it's the only way. We are, as a country, as an economy, we are lagging far behind even Central European countries. I can give you endless metrics in terms of, let's say, venture capital per capita or number of unicorns or speed of unicorns, but that doesn't really matter. What it matters is that we need, for a change to happen, you need to change yourself. This is where the actual change happens. If you change yourself and your mission is to help the others change around you, then you're like you're like a virus, but a positive one. This is how you multiplicate and replicate what is a good practice. So this is the reason, it's way stronger and way beyond me and way bigger than I am not to do it.
I remember an amazing conversation last year in Power of BG, where Presian Karakostov, the founder of
also in our board,
also on the board, yeah, an amazing founder in Bulgaria, said that he met Vasil Terziev without knowing who he is, talking about Endeavor, Bulgaria. And he was one of these people that were like, I'm not messing in anyone else's businesses. I don't want to have anything to do with anyone. And this is how he got virused, and the way he got this virus of helping others and spreading your knowledge and experience to others and making the whole society better. It's an amazing conversation. And how do you think we can encourage this give back mindset? Because some entrepreneurs are like, my business is mine. I have my thing. It just gives me money. It allows me to do whatever I want. I don't want to have anything to do with anyone else.
I have a personal cause of mine to actually engage more IT developers into actually helping anything, pretty much, because I think that these guys are super sharp and super smart, and they tend to stick into their own reality. People like me and you, there is a sort of a bubble that is growing, and it's growing by number and by size, and that's amazing. But there is this, people that are just on the verge of the bubble. They're really not far away from the bubble, but they're not inside the bubble as well. So my personal understanding is that I need to work with those people. And in my understanding, one of the toughest sort of region is the people that are into IT, the developers themselves. What they really don't know, and I think this is a good thing, is that there are options. Really, there are guys that want to do something, and they're like, I have no idea where I can, invest my time or even my money so I can help someone. So for people like you and me that are sort of more better placed and they know sort of the ecosystem, it's very important that we talk to these guys. Say, okay, this is opportunity 1, this is opportunity 2, this is opportunity 3. You can really become a mentor here. You can share your knowledge here. They need to have, and I think this is something that we need to work on as a community, but an infrastructure like Time Heroes or something that really shows where you can be of use. The Bulgarian society in general is not very charitable. Actually, there was this statistics by BESCOs Foundation. We're at the bottom, like rock bottom in the EU. Like giving money to charities, like we're just terrible. It's not only about money, it's about time and effort and knowledge as well. And we need to build up sort of the infrastructure, and we need to talk to people that are on the verge, on the border. And once we get them in the bubble, then the bubble moves a step closer to the other people on the verge, and then we talk to them and talk to them. But it has to be a systematic way. And we need to think about infrastructure, how we can engage those people. And so I think this is, my personal mantra is to engage more software developers into all that.
Yeah. That's great, because there are other people leading the same battle in totally different fields, like Lazar Radkov and Nikola Rachnev from Gorata BG and from Caps for Future, that are basically getting volunteers to do amazing causes, like planting trees and recycling, and also to do it with their kids, which teaches kids to be volunteering. Absolutely. Which is going to move the needle in the statistics. And is going to move the needle in creating open source platforms like Podkrepi BG, etc., etc., etc. So it's a great that there are more than just you and just BESCO doing this. The whole ecosystem is raising. It's like it's like dusk in the morning. It's like when the sunrise it's starting to get behind the horizon. BESCO's mission is to transform Bulgaria's economic model towards high value-added businesses. And you have devoted the last years on trying to promote this vision. Where do you think you are now on this journey?
It's funny, we had this conversation internally, and we just, we just became a factor, like really only yesterday, figuratively speaking. But up to this point, this was the moment, where you were pushing the ball uphill. And now we're on the point where the ball is right on the peak. And I can sense that, the tipping point is here, and now it's going to be a snowball effect down the hill. So I believe that the best is yet to come. We really needed time to validate first our purpose of existence, then our methodology, because we developed our own internal methodology called the REDBA, which is Research, Evaluate, Discuss, Build, Create, and Advocate. It's a 5-step process that we work for every legislation that we do. So we validated that we have a system, we have backers, we have purpose, we have critical momentum with the politicians. So really, it's a perfect storm now. So from this point onwards, in the next couple of years, I think it's where we'll see the snowball effect, and legislation happening much more quickly, much more thoroughly, much better as well. Because one of the problems in Bulgaria is that legislation is carried out in an absurd way. Like the level of policy creation is it's bad. And BESCO is raising the level for the politicians themselves, because, we carry out reports of a few hundred pages before we make an assumption on what to change. So everything that we do is based on data and facts, not about our opinions. So we're raising the level in that aspect as well. And when you put all those factors, and now it's, momentum and speed. That's the point now.
Do you have any takeaways that you would like to share on this policy-making experience?
It's a very slow process.
Patience is a very
absolutely. I got to trick myself that it's, I call it a slow sales process. I put the word sales inside, so it sounds like a business cycle, and it is actually a business cycle. But you have to understand that, politics is it's very human driven. It's very subjective. It is absolutely. Most of the times, it's not a pragmatic, objective, clear, black and white aspect of the coin. The coin could be this way, or it could be the other way, or it could be just standing like this. And flexibility is another thing that you need to have, like personal flexibility, and being able to understand emotional intelligence and reading situation and reading between the lines. And lastly, it's like multiple stakeholder management. Everything that you talk to one guy cannot be the same with talking to the other guy, and we're usually talking to tens, if not hundreds of people. So multiple stakeholder management is a process. It should be taken as a process, not as it's not a gut feeling, it's not intuition, it's a systematic approach towards multiple stakeholder management. And these are the essential about the advocacy process, and I think they're very relevant to business as well.
One of the things that I see going to politics and policies just watching it from the sidelines is that not a lot of people are entrepreneurs that are trying to change the legislation. You guys are. So how did this entrepreneurial thinking and experience help you move the needle in such a conservative and slow-moving process that you already described? That's regulation and lawmaking and legislation in general.
Yeah, again, no one was willing to do it. And in our vision, we understood that this is the absolute must for the ecosystem to move upwards. There is no real, there could be no real change in any ecosystem unless it's aligned with a strategic vision of those in power. We think that, the birth of BESCO and the success of BESCO are actually the end of the transition period that we claim to have the post-communist transition period. We think that because there was this environment for BESCO to appear and to evolve, if you like a more Darwinian approach, is the going down of a post-communist transition period. And I think we're at the very, very end of the transition period. And now, for the first time, I think we are facing true liberal market and through democracy, with all the drawbacks that we live in, the reality that we have. But I think that this is a very clear statement of the phase that Bulgaria is actually going to right now.
This is basically your entrepreneurial hunch and the thing that you've gone through, like following the whole process. You realize that it's a proper time. It's like proper time.
Absolutely, timing is crucial, and if we did not hit the right timing spot, we would have not survived. So I think this is
awesome. You already mentioned some amazing progress that you did on the startup visa, the blue cards, the Beam Stock Exchange growth market, which I'm part of as an investor, which is great. I've never thought about having the opportunity to invest into hopefully unicorn Bulgarian companies, but I actually have some very interesting stock that I've bought because of this Beam market. Would you highlight how the changes that you did are going to contribute to the ecosystem's growth and take it to the next level?
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned, the midterms and short-term solutions for the lack of human capital. And in this knowledge-intensive industry, human capital is by far the most important thing. Money is a resource that you can source locally, or you can source, from abroad. Yep, maybe it's more difficult than in other countries, but if you have something good, money is not a problem usually. What is a problem is that if you have some great idea and you need doers and you need people with your values and the right knowledge and the right background and the right ambition, the right families, if you wish, that's tough. Collecting the right people is tough, and if I can do it and if you can do it, there's no guarantee that people will be left for the third guy. And we need to make sure as an ecosystem that there are people for the third guy and the fourth guy and the 400 guys. So everyone with a good idea should be able to recruit great talent so that he can actually make this idea a world-class idea. You need world-class talent to make world-class ideas. And that's why Bulgaria should be the hatchery of this talent pool. This is why we need, on the long run, a sustained education system. But on the short run, we're an amazing country. Why not, advertise ourselves and get those guys from, all over the world coming here and doing their things, which is the startup visa. Precisely, if you have a great product, Bulgaria is very, very welcoming, and Bulgaria offers you this, access to low taxation, access to VCs, a great network, great support ecosystem that will help you along your journey. Why not here? Why go to the US or why go to the UK? Bulgaria could be this place. The blue cards, So once you get here, you start your idea, then you source high qualified personnel outside the EU easily and quickly. Because let's face it now, the talent pool in Bulgaria, specifically in the IT industry, there is a shortage of 60 to 70,000 people. So we can't really develop high-tech businesses if we don't have the high-tech people, right? So these are very, very significant steps that, if you have the right people, everything else is doable. Simple as that.
That's great. And to be awesome to make it happen. And I cannot leave out of the conversation a great movie, a short movie that you did, The Way of the Unicorn, regarding our first unicorn, which would be Hristo Borisov's Payhawk, an amazing company that made it to the promised land, because I didn't know that if we are ever going to have such a company. And BESCO had this amazing idea to get one of the most recognizable Bulgarians in the video of Payhawk, which is Dimitar Barbatov, that played for Manu, So tell me more about how did this first Bulgarian unicorn support the BESCO's cause, make it more transferable, or make it for more people, spread the idea to more people?
We have a thing in BESCO called the bubble breaking, and that's why we hired Spas Kyosef. He used to be an anchorman at Bulgarian National Television for 17 years. And we needed someone that is not from our ecosystem to be able to look from, the side and tell us, this is all great that you do, but, for the common people, for the regular people, it's you talk to a different language. So we actually, he describes himself as a translator. And, Payhawk is like a very large, bright flag that people are waving. But for the normal people, there are letters on the flag which are in Chinese. Chinese, I mean that no one really understands what those letters are. So we need the flag. We need to be waving the flag, but we need systems and translators to tell to everyone what those letters on the flag are. And this is what, we're trying to, pump up the success of Payhawk and first of all, provide the fact that you can be successful in Bulgaria. Anyone can be successful in Bulgaria. If you're hardworking, you have a good idea, you have a great team, you can be the next Payhawk. You can be the next Hristo Borisov. We're trying to show Hristo not as a, untouchable billionaire that is, driving his Maseratis somewhere in whatever the fancy place he's doing it, but as a regular guy that lives a normal life and has the right value set, supports his employees, and actually building $1 billion company. This is the whole notion, and this is the new type of rich people that are actually, rich just by statistics, but they don't act like rich people. Like they act like everyday normal human beings that do the right things every single day. And this is the purpose of, mixing the success of Payhawk and Berbatov's presence, so that we can, use these cameo figures to break the bubble and to put someone well known for his success to someone not known for his success, but also very successful. And this was the whole idea.
It's great execution. It was really touching. And thank you for doing this, and thank you for giving this transparency, because there are people just watching the news, watching the media, and have no idea who these people are.
Absolutely.
And what they do for the economy, which means for the entire country. BESCO's contribution to Bulgarian society has gone beyond improving the environment for doing business. Last year, when the war in Ukraine broke out, you and your team devoted a lot of effort helping Ukrainian refugees to reach Bulgaria. Can you reflect on the meaning and the impact and whole experience and the response of the whole community back then?
Yeah, that's a great question, because when the situation in Ukraine broke out and we got a call at 7 a.m. literally from the Minister of Innovation there, things happened so quickly, man. I mean, it was like, we need to do this, guys, you need to help us with this, we're understaffed, we need to bring, first the idea was, bring employees of, Ukrainian employees of Bulgarian companies to bring them in Bulgaria quickly. This was the initial plan. And, it was like 2 weeks non-stop organizing buses, planes, like coordinating Excel files, creating Viber groups, and, doing that. We got super sucked in. I remember the first week I had no sleep. Like I couldn't, maybe I had like 5, 6, 10 hours of sleep for a whole week, because we were literally organizing and coordinating so many people. And once, the initial situation sort of cleared and got more tranquil and calm, it happened that first we took a lot of people that were not IT and not employees of Ukrainian companies, but just people in need. And there were
Bulgarian companies.
Bulgarian companies, sorry. And there were people in need, and there were empty spaces on the bus. So just
hop on.
Yeah, just save yourself from the madness. But then once we slowed down the pace, I realized that parallel to our efforts, there were so many people doing the same. There were like so many organizations appearing. There were so many volunteers. There were like people raising funds, people actually, responsible for welcoming these refugees. And the government was slow, and I don't blame them. Governments are slow by definition. But the civil sector, the civil society was super quick, and this is an astonishing, an amazing thing to be actually to understand that you live in a support system. You live in a system where not much has been happening, and then there is a big problem, and then everyone acts upon this problem. So this self-realization for me is I think something that we should always remember. And we have this bad saying that we're not united in Bulgaria and that we keep dividing ourselves. I don't agree, and this was a very good example. When we're faced with a severe problem, the mobilization is great, and we're divided because most likely we're not facing severe problems, not that we're divided by definition. So it was a very, fulfilling sense that I live in a great community, and I'm not talking about my immediate environment.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, there's a saying that you need to judge people by how they act in situations, not by their words. So thank you for doing this. And how do you think we can spread the mindset, this culture of empathy on a broader level?
Yeah, this is $1 million question. Actually, this is the tough part. We have some success here, even PayHo, first unicorn, but it shouldn't be about the first unicorn. It shouldn't be about the the efforts of BESCO. It shouldn't be about the efforts of Able. It should be, how do we multiply and leverage these organizations? How do we make a unicorn every second or third month? How do we create more BESCOs? How do we scale the work of Able? This is, again, the viral effect. How do you create a virus that really affects other people to do the things that, are right? Because deep down, everyone knows what's right and what's not right. So how do we, leverage everything that we've achieved so far? And again, to make it at scale, I think that working with the government is essential, and this is why I believe in BESCOs Mission so deeply, because it is the government that can really scale the process. I mean, the civic sector, the businesses, they show the right way. If you want to make it, a massive presence, then you need people at scale to act at scale, and that's why BESCO is pushing for the agenda of the whole ecosystem.
You're also cooperating with other like-minded organizations from the whole Southeastern Europe region. Do you see the potential for a wider cooperation on policy level regarding digital innovations, technological research, or anything here on the Balkans?
Yes. It's worth mentioning that I'm part of the board of the European Startup Network, and we're also part of the board that Allied for Startups, which are big, organizations like BESCO, but on a European and worldwide level. I think that the region, specifically the southeastern region, the Balkan region in general, needs a much larger dose of unification. And I think that historically it's been a problematic area with a lot of tension between the countries. And now this division of the East and West puts greater barriers between the countries. They're absolutely intentional. They serve geopolitical purposes, but I think that what is really the thing that cannot be very well tamed and shaped is technology. Technology knows no barriers. Technology knows no frontiers. So really, technology could be the factor that can unify like-minded people from the region, and I think there is an absolute field for opportunity, and we started working in that direction, but timing is very crucial and resources are very crucial. But we started working with Startup Macedonia on setting up the fundaments and the foundations of a Balkan Startup Association, just because the Macedonians are now walking in our shoes when they started their organization, it was a community-driven organization, events, pitching sessions, etc. Now they're looking into advocacy and policy creation, and we are now a couple of years doing that. And they came to us and said, "How do you guys do that?" And we're like, "Well, we'll share our experience." And then the Albanians came and said, "Okay, so you're working with the Macedonian guys. We want to do the same. So how do we do the same?" And then we said, "Okay, man, there's the North Macedonians, the Albanians, there's us. We all share the same problems, and more or less, really, they're the same problems. They're lack of people, lack of money, and systems that are not easy to operate. So ease of doing business is not existent. So the three goals that BESCO has, they are absolutely replicable in North Macedonia, and they're absolutely replicable in Albania. And if I go to Croatia, I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same story. And if I go to Serbia, I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same story, more or less, right? So in that essence, is there a field for a collaboration? Most definitely. Is the timing now? Maybe. But, we need to... This has to be a strategic thinking. It should not be impulsive. BESCO was a bit of impulsive decision, which happened to be great. But when you're talking about the region, then you need direct, dedicated effort so we can actually make it work.
So my final question for today is, how can we build a stronger technological brand for the whole region? And you're saying that it's actually by sharing what we know, so giving back and paying forward. So helping others get where we are and get help from others that are already ahead of us.
Absolutely, and at the end of the day, we face the same problems. On a purely human level and on a purely historical level, we were, in the same pot for many, many years, and, the division that is trying to be forced upon us is really artificial. We have so much more commonalities and so much more common battles than we have divisions and separations, and it really comes natural to people that have the right mindset. So if we manage to multiply the mindset and the values in every country, what we're doing here is an ecosystem, what the Croatian ecosystem is doing as well, because I know the guys, they're amazing, the Serbian guys are doing the same, then joining these parties together is only a logical next step. It's not a super decisive force that should be placed, but it's only a logical step that should just be aligned and set up with proper governance and proper structure so it actually works.
Ned Dervenkov, thank you very much for sharing your time, your thoughts. Thank you for your efforts with the whole team of BESCO and making it possible, not only for the Bulgarian ecosystem, but also for the countries in the region that are reaching for help and asking to be helped by your knowledge and your connections and the resources. It has been a great pleasure talking to you, and I wish you lots of success in the future.
Thank you. It was an honor for me as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being with the Recursive Podcast this week too. Can't wait to have you back next week.
Next on the Recursive Podcast, we meet with Atanas Raikov, Vice President of Growth at Rakuten Viber.
The moment you are into generating value, and especially I would say that the most successful people, they are already in the state of mind of giving back. So sometimes it's much more easy. It's much easier to reach out to them through this angle
through
and
this
to
lens.
connect.
I totally agree here.
And if you are just as passionate about innovation as we are, hit subscribe for the Recursive Podcast on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. We're everywhere.